Well, today we're going to do the very last build video of the Honda Civic Hot Wheels. And I think you guys are all pretty excited to see it finally come together after all these videos. Unless you're obviously new, in which case, hi, I'm Ruben. Well, what are we going to do today? Well, obviously a wire tuck. And I'm going to make a step-by-step video so you guys can all do a wire tuck yourself after watching this video. Which is going to be great, because wire tucks look pretty cool. Here's the engine bay, the way we start. Lots of randomness. Now, some things I'm going to tell you beforehand. I'm not going to tuck the washer fluid bottle because it's by law required. Just like the wiper arms, because you know it always rains in Holland. Well, before we start, two things. One, I'm not responsible to any damage to your car. If you're going to do this, do so at your own risk. Two, by doing a wire tuck, it's purely aesthetical and you're going to lose some of the functionality of the car. Be aware of this, and if you want to keep full functionality of your car, don't do a wire tuck. Alright, cool, let's go. Well, the first thing you have to do is take off your front bumper. For best results, it's easiest to take the headlights off and the fender, and if you have a filler piece, and the filler piece as well. I'm not going to do that because I've done this lots of times and I can do it easily without it. But, you know, it makes it all a lot easier, especially if you don't really know where the stuff is going to be. Some of you guys know there is usually a ground wire going from your valve cover all the way to the front, and you should always have this connected, but as you can see, I've already tucked it. Where have I put it? I've put it in the back. You can always make a longer one and make it run underneath the intake, but this is good enough for now. You need to have it on, because if you don't have the ground on, you're usually going to have some really strange problems. It can go perfectly fine for months and then suddenly you get a strange problem, and well, usually it's solved with that. So keep that on all the way. Next up, we got a radiator overflow tank. Some people like to tuck it here below, but I usually tuck it here with the T-frame. The reason I do that is because you can easily fix it here. I've seen some people put it loose, because with an original bumper you can't really seem to lose it, but it can fall down and you can lose some fluid, so don't do that. I've tie wrapped it here with a small drill hole in here, and I've tie wrapped it there so it's not going anywhere. You are obviously going to lose some of the functionality of your radiator, but the radiators in general on EFs are pretty good, so you should be safe. One thing I should tell you, if you have a head gasket problem or your car is consuming coolant, don't put it there, just leave it there where it is. Alright, moving on. Now the next thing are the wiper washers. I usually keep them because they're mandatory by law here. You have to unhook them here, then route them all the way to here. Then I usually make them come out on the back here. You can easily put it through there, and you don't have to lengthen anything. That way you can keep it. There we are, easy. Next. Alright, next is the routing for the rear nozzle. Now, I don't have a rear wiper arm anymore, so this one is not functional for me. If you want to keep it, just route it the same way as the other one. There's a small hole going in the firewall going to the back, and you can route it through there. But I'm going to show you how to do this and just plug it off, and that's way easier. Now, I've put a bolt through it, so there's no water leakage anymore, and now you can just hide it somewhere behind the fender. What you do have to take care of is that you don't put it too low, and you have to disconnect the motor, because obviously that's not going to work and it's going to try to push water through if you accidentally hit the button. Alright, moving on. Looking cleaner already. Nice. Well, the next step is to loosen everything up here. As you can see, I've left this one loose. That's because the hole you have to go through. Let's see if I can show it. It's really low, but you can kind of see it here. Now you can see it. It's over there, and you have your master cylinder. Everything's in the way, so I keep everything loose so you have the most amount of space before you actually go there. And you have to basically loosen the wire, all the plugs that keep it to the firewall, etc. Well, next we got the master cylinder wires. Now, what this does, basically, if your level is too low, it's going to keep the parking brake light on. Now, I know this car doesn't have any brake issues, so I'm going to not put that back. You can put it back, but then obviously you have some extra wires going into the wire loom. I'm going to keep them behind the firewall, so if the new owner wants to put them back, he can still do it. but for aesthetic purposes I'm not going to do that. Now we got the wiring here. I'll zoom out. Here I usually think is the best place to cut the wiring. Now if you're new to this, I would advise you to label every wire, but I got some experience, I've done this before, and I know each color is different and I know what each color does, so I'm just going to cut it there and then solder it all together once it's back through. I'm just saying this, I don't know, if you don't have any experience, label everything up. Now we can see the plug a lot better, or at least a bit better. There we are. Now we have to pull the plug through and then pull the whole wire loom all the way in the car, and then we have this wire loom that comes from the engine, and we're going to push that in as well, so that that goes from here all the way back like that. And make sure you do not hit the alternator in any way, because you're going to send it basically the wires and you get shortage and your car can caught on fire, blah blah blah. Well, here we have the wiring, put it through, and there's the other plug, put everything through. Now if you thought that was an easy job, then well, let me tell you, it's not. Especially the first time you're going to do this, you're going to experience a lot of trouble with it. Don't rush it, don't force the plugs, because you can get an internal break in the wiring, and just take your time, you should be fine. Now this plug needs to be connected to the one I have over there. So I'm going to strip the wiring here, and then all the other wiring is going all the way through the firewall that way, past the fender and going back to the front. Now what I've done is I've put the one-way valve underneath the brake booster so you can't really see it. If you're like, this is not clean enough for me, it's possible to flip the entire brake booster and obviously remove this first, and then put it all back together, and then that thing is right underneath there, so you can have it even cleaner, or just delete the brake booster altogether. Now for the fuel line, you can simply just push it all back down underneath here, and then you can basically have it out of the way, also underneath the brake booster. Same goes for the clutch cable. For the clutch cable you can twist it loose here, so you can pull it out and then route it all the way underneath the intake manifold, and then you get a cleaner look as well. Well, with the clutch cable done and with the fuel line done, you can already sit back and enjoy your at least partly wire-tucked engine bay. We still have to do the other side, and we still have to connect everything, but the beginning is there. Well, how are we going to put the wiring? Well, it's really simple. There's this small thing here, and you can put the wiring through there and then route it all the way through here, and then it goes back to the front. Oh yeah, I remember the very first time that I did it, I didn't put this back. This basically is the main ground point. I'm just saying, put it back, otherwise your car won't work. There we are, great. Now we can put the wiring through. And now we got 3 wire looms, the one that's going outside through the fender, the one for the master cylinder, but I'm not going to use that, so I'm just going to tuck it away under the dashboard, and the one that's going to be connected to the engine wire. Now this one we're going to feed in through the hole I just shown you. But we got the wiring going through the hole, we got this side, we got that side, now we have to solder everything together. Now I'm not going to show you how to solder, because by now I think you should know it, and if you don't know how to solder, then please learn it beforehand, because this is not a place you want to have faulty wiring, especially with a wire deck. You have to do this properly, so don't just tape them together, don't use half measures, solder them properly, use heat shrink, etc., and you should be fine. Well, we got it all tucked up nicely across the inner fender. The wheels can't touch it because it's too high up. See? And that should all be fine. You can also run it through here, through the inside, but if you ever get a short, good luck figuring it all out. You have to basically cut it all open and do everything again. So I can't recommend that. Now this is a charcoal canister, and it usually loses its function after a couple of years. So after 25 years this is completely useless. How I usually do it is I hook up the red wire here with the red wire there. So basically I disconnect it there and then hook it up there. You can also leave that blank and then fill that one up, but I can't really recommend it. This one also, I remove completely and I just fill up the vacuum hose. Now this obviously is the map sensor and you need to keep that. Well, that looks a lot cleaner already. Nice. I've capped it off at the back and here you can see that's the one hose. It's now there. And now we're going to disconnect everything here and pull everything through, same as we did on the other side. As for the fuse box here, use the right size screwdrivers. If not, these are very soft screwdrivers and you'll fuck them up real easily. So be careful with that. If you feel like it's not going right the first time, get a different screwdriver because you're most likely to fuck it up. I'm also going to remove the fabric on the firewall because weight reduction, yo. By the way, you can also tuck the fuel line, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm probably gonna make a different video about that in the future whenever I feel like it. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it like this. Well, I let the wires through and all the other wires are back in. So now we can pull back and I can show you how the other side looks. I compare it with the back and this side and the front. That's a whole lot better, right? So much cleaner. Nice. Now this coolant hose up from here to here. There was like a separate hose going to the intake and that's removed now. And this piece of wire loom can go underneath this coolant hose and you have to unplug this bit here and the ones underneath the intake there. Done. Now you will never have any problem reaching the starter motor or thermostat. Nice. Well, I've spliced all the other side as well. There are 11 wires coming from this loom, but one of those is from the wiper motor and that goes all the way to the other loom, so I just took it off here. And then you got 4 other wires here. Can't zoom into for some reason. Here we are. And those are the same as these 4. And now these need to be lengthened. And we're going to put this one all the way through the firewall because I'm going to use the wiper motor still. So here we have the wire for the wiper motor and I'm going to put it through this hole. And then it comes out here. And then we're going to use the same hole we did last time. And we're going to put everything through. Get the hole in the picture. There it is. Well, I've hooked up the first wire already. That was the ground from the wiper motor. It's going there. And we're going to pull everything through there. And I've put the wires from the fan switch here, because this way it's even more out of sight. And then when you're done, you can enjoy a nice wire tuck and give yourself a pat on the head. So one final word of advice is don't rush this. Take your time, especially if this is your first time, which it probably is if you're watching this video. Take it easy. Spend like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days or something, and the moment you get tired, stop and work on it the next day. Also, my second piece of advice is if you are swapping your engine, don't try to do this at the same time, because you're probably going to have problems with your engine swap, and if you also have electrical problems, it's just going to be more headache to figure out. Do it separately of the engine swap and test everything beforehand or afterwards. That's the easiest I can give you. Well, that's it for today then. If you've noticed, I haven't talked about the battery relocation. I'm going to leave that for a different video with a different car altogether, but you should figure it out. And if you don't and you need some questions, just post them in the comment and I'll answer your question. All right? Cool. Well, that's it for today. Pretty long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment and let me know that you did, because then probably I'll make some more of these longer videos. And if you don't like it, post in the comments as well, because then at least I know I can stick to the shorter videos. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. And if you want to see more, click right here for more.